Greetings, fellow citizens of Disneyland. Brickey here. Today's adventure, what's new at Disneyland? This is episode 12 in a series where I go out to the park and show you everything that's new at the Disneyland Resort. I haven't filmed one of these in a month because DCA was in a state of transition getting prepared for Touch of Disney. Last week, I just did a walkthrough of all of Touch of Disney because last week, everything was new. But now that we are in the second week of Touch of Disney, we can walk through all of DCA and see what's new as this event evolves. And speaking of evolving, week 2 was a much faster entrance into the event. Last Thursday, which was the opening of Touch of Disney, took me over an hour to get into the park. This week, it was more around a half hour. So just a major difference in how efficiently they were loading people into Touch of Disney. Now this roped off area here, this shows people that are coming in from the harbor entrance, then they work them around to downtown Disney, and then they funnel all of the downtown Disney guests into Touch of Disney. Sadly, this is the second week that I'm here, and this is the second week that the Disneyland flags have to be flying at half-mast. Last week, I witnessed a cast member lowering the flag at Touch of Disney in half-mast, and I really hope that America can get back to normal, and a normalcy that doesn't include shooting one another. Touch of Disney Week 2 is a very different vibe than Touch of Disney Week 1, and I'm going to use this as a moment to sort of let you work through in your mind, where do you want to be when Disneyland reopens? Do you want to be there the first day, the first week, when it's going to be very confusing, kind of crowded because of that confusion, and lots of people with cameras in front of their faces? Or do you want to show up like a week later, a month later, like week 2 of Touch of Disney, where it's a crowd that's happy to be there, it's a very mellow crowd, Disney has it a little bit more figured out, and there's less people with cameras in front of their faces? That's something that you will need to figure out. But one of the things I was blessed to see on week 2 that didn't happen last week is this. The Radiator racers were being tested. They were running them for about 2 hours, I want to say. And I was standing at the top of Radiator Springs. I was at the corner of Cross Street and Route 66. And I thought out of the corner of my eye, I saw a racer go by. And I said, Brickey, you're starting to lose it. There are no racers running. Then I heard that sweet sound of an EV vehicle going over the hill. And I said, whoa, slow down. We're not racing yet, but the racers are racing. And I cannot tell you how happy it made me feel to just see this kinetic energy of Disneyland back. Mater, do you mind? I'm trying to do a video here, bro. Come on, Cars Land's not all about you. But friends, seeing the kinetic energy of Cars Land coming back to life, just hearing these cars hum as they go over the hills in the third act, the racing act of this amazing story that this attraction tells you, it just put a familiarity of sound back into the park, and it reminded you of all the good times we had, but most importantly, it reminded me of all the good times that are so close for each of us in our future. This part of the park is so beautiful, even your mom with an iPad could take a good photo here. And as I worked my way over to the pier, I heard another familiar sound. I mean, keep in mind, I was just there living this yesterday. I wasn't looking at things on blogs. I was just out actually living, and I heard that sweet sound of the Incredicoaster ruckusing and rollicking all around Pixar Pier. You know that sound. Sometimes it gets pretty loud when you're over on the boardwalk, but just seeing this attraction take off again, it brought me so much excitement. And as my friend Katie, who also doesn't ride this ride, told me, she's like, I can't even ride this thing, and I'm just so happy to see it ripping through the park. And I agree with her. It's just amazing to see this back. So for all of you that are big Incredicoaster fans, I'm excited that soon you'll be riding this again, and I'll just be getting some Jack Num-Nums while I wait for you to do your thing on the Incredicoaster that my body has cursed me to not be able to enjoy. But if you listen, you can hear a cast member actually call out that they're getting ready to cycle the attraction, so this testing is happening and they're not hiding it. As Disney pushes on to meet their April 30th reopening date that they are trying to get to, it's fun to see it come together. And also interesting that they're not allowing Touch of Disney to ruin those plans. They're doing everything at the same time, getting ready for all of us to get back in there at the end of this month. It took a while for this launch, but I was excited when I caught it. One of the attractions that wasn't mentioned on Disney's big press release about reopening the park was Soarin' over California. I caught these stanchions that were put up here in the overflow area for Soarin'. It'll be interesting to see, does this mean that they were testing and getting ready for actually opening up this attraction? Because many of us were quite confused. What are exactly the rules on indoor attractions? Is it how many people are indoors? How long they're indoors? Nobody knows. I guess we'll find out at the end of the month.
All right, put those thinking caps on, huh?
Yeah.
Here's a cast member doing his part to keep the magic alive and entertaining people in Hollywood land.
What's the percentage of these that people get right?
Well, theme park's very hit or miss. I would say, today's questions, a couple are tricky, maybe like 70%.
That's not bad. A C, a strong C, that's not bad.
Yeah,
There's
right?
some hard ones on here.
Right? Number 5 in particular, because it's been gone for a few years. If they haven't been to Florida, they might not know.
Thank you so much.
Speaking of Hollywoodland, I had to check out the Hollywoodland Backlot just to see what was going. This is the part of the park that's getting the least amount of attention right now. Everybody's going in, they're hitting the DCA hub, and they're either going straight or they're hanging a hard right. But I had to come down here to see, is there anything new developing in Hollywoodland other than this WandaVision photo op? Now, last week, I saw that they actually had this more in a testing zone. So seeing the attractions change is very interesting, which means to me that after hours, they're really getting all of this down to better understand how to manage us, the guests, when we return to the resort. This is what this area had looked like just a week ago. Way more into people management mode. But what it looked like this week, which I was surprised, was to find this new Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or Bucky and the Falcon as I like to call it, this new photo op that just appeared out of nowhere, which was exciting to see something new happening in this sleepy end of the park. So I was excited that I decided to go into the dead zone and check it out. And here is the photo op. It's a little interesting though. You can't get in between the shield and the wings. It would have been nice if that was somehow spaced out so you could have sort of both of the heroes' attributes. And also, odd decision, there's not a photo cast member there. So you have to take your own photos. So I had to kind of go selfie mode, which kind of ruins the whole idea of putting on the wing. So best to have a bud at Disneyland whenever possible. But these video boards over here projecting all of the different characters from the new Disney Plus Marvel production is really, really fun to see. And then the exit was even more interesting. At first I thought, well, I'm used to the way that we normally get out of here, which is over by this beautiful back end of schmoozies. I mean, that is Disney engineering at its finest. But no, you go through this little corridor, and then magically you transition from the backlot superhero sounds to the sounds of old Hollywood as we stand on Hollywood Boulevard. Now, one of the big things that you're given for your $75 ticket for Touch of Disney is unlimited photo pass. This week, I saw way more PhotoPass photographers in crucial spots. Having a cast member here managing this end of the park was, I'm going to say, a definite upgrade from opening week, where here we just find a mom and her little one capturing that awesome memory. So it was nice to see this cast member, and she was actually doing a fair job of instructing this young lady on how to get that best pick possible. I actually used one of these over in Cars Land to create the thumbnail for my live stream that I did last night. And by the way, follow along with the channel, ring the bell. Every time I'm at the resort, I do a live stream. I'll be live each and every Thursday at Touch of Disney. 3 more to go, 2 down. So one of the longest lines I saw was this line right here. And by the way, that dog just got carded to make sure he was an official dog that had its credentials to be inside of Disneyland. I think some people might have been breaking that rule last week. But here we see the longest line that I saw practically for a photo anywhere, and this is for the Legacy Pass holders to be able to come in and celebrate 20 years of Disney California Adventure. But you're going to have to celebrate on your own because there's no PhotoPass cast member here. So going in solo, how would I possibly do a selfie and get the Fab Four in the pic with me? It would be impossible. But I think most people are doing this to get this magnet to celebrate being a Legacy Pass holder. I wish I could get my hands on one of these, but I'm kind of always busy doing this. Now, I'm going to have to call Disney out a little bit. They weren't that great at keeping this area circulating with a character for everybody to get to see. Last week, opening day, it was a constant rotation. As soon as one character would go away, another one would already be up on the platform, and you'd be like, oh, it's Daisy and Mickey, and then Mickey would dissipate, and then you would just have Daisy, and they kept overlapping them. I stood over here for a good 20 minutes, hoping to catch one show up. Being the only guest over there and knowing that it would happen, I thought I could get a nice interaction to capture and share with you, but it didn't happen. And speaking of things that didn't happen, where is the parade vehicle? We were promised parade vehicles that we could take photos with. This said out there last Thursday. Now, a week later, this parade vehicle is missing. Now, arguably, I didn't go up and get a photo in front of it. Maybe they were worried about the rain and they don't want ride vehicles sitting in the light sprinkling that did happen. But also the dump truck that had been sitting over here last week was removed as well. So I don't know if this was weather related. Comment below if you go out this weekend and these reappear, but I'll definitely be tracking this when I show up next week. And yes, that is the status of what it's like to be a hardcore Disney fan. Are the parade vehicles there for me to maybe or maybe not take a photo in front of? Yeah, that's what we're dealing with in 2021 as we're begging to get the park back open. Now, back on the good side, they did move around some of the character meet and greets to try to give you a better shot at seeing some of the characters we love. This one of Pluto was a little bit hard to see over the rail, but Sadness and Joy over on the Emotional Whirlwind, this is just like a great spot, and you're not too close to them, so I wish they would do more of these type of interactions. But I have to say, my absolute favorite character meet and greet that I saw being out at the park all day yesterday from noon till 8 was this one over in Grizzly Peak, where Donald was just sort of on safari doing his own thing. He's got his clipboard out, he's taking some notes, waving, seeing some people, but then he pulls out his trusty binoculars to get an even better look, which I just found to be hilarious, that he was not only out there seeing people, but putting on a little bit of a show. And then I did enjoy that he went behind the brush here, sort of peeking out around at various guests. I love this type of storytelling. Now, what you're not going to see me do each week is eat lots of different food. I'm not really a big fan of watching people eat food, and I'm also not a big fan of you watching me eat food. But what I do want to point out is that they started to implement these cast members in front of the different areas where you could get food to navigate the traffic. Last week, I did get a chili cheese con queso, which I had been missing dearly, and it was a disaster trying to figure out where I was supposed to be. So it was very nice seeing that cast member there. However, the lines for people that already have an app that says their food is ready to pick up. Last night, I waited 40 minutes for food as it had said, hey, it's done. And it took me an additional 40 minutes to get my food. The wait times were really, really slow. New chairs have been added here in Radiator Springs. Last week, this was just like a walk up and take a look at an old friend. And then 1 week later, they have been doing a better job at putting more seating around for you to figure out where you can go and enjoy some of these treats. So that was a nice improvement. All in all, I would have to say week from week, there were lots of improvements. There were some things missing. I just think that, and the reason why I bought multiple tickets was to show you how this event does evolve. Last week when I got into the park, I was so full of emotions that I didn't get to do something that I adore. This week, with it all feeling a little bit more familiar, I went back to some of my favorite quiet spots in the park. This spot right here is one of the best places to escape and get away. And if you work your way around to the front here, in front of the Blue Sky Cellar, there's this big sort of concrete, patio bench that you could sit at. And it's a very nice place to hang out if you just kind of want to get up high, get away. And then you are also blessed if you sit over by the rail of this beautiful view looking right down Route 66. And this is just a great spot to kind of watch it all go by. So if you haven't enjoyed this private, quiet space before, I would highly encourage you, if you're looking just to chill for a half an hour, this is one of the spots in DCA that I would highly recommend to you. And then this little area on the back side of Luigi's Roadsters, it's quiet. You're allowed to go back here. There's nobody that is back here. It's a really mellow spot to sit here and look at these beautiful little ride vehicles, and to also check out that new wall that they just put up, which takes the storytelling a bit further with putting this building in, which this building is all for cast members. And as I understand, they're also using the space underneath where we're standing. We'll talk about that later in another video. But I do love these areas that they cut out of the bushes. I'm hoping that when I get there, I can see some sort of trophy or reason why those enclaves were cut out. Now, this is one of the best spots to take photos of the pier. There normally is a bench sitting in there, but the tree is overgrown. The bench is missing. This is one of my favorite quiet spots that right now is in a little bit of disarray. I'm okay. I could go another year with no attractions. I can't go another year without my quiet spots. So I was able to get my camera in sort of this little natural hole that had developed and cruise out and get one of my best views of DCA. But yeah, let's trim this tree back, guys. Whenever we get a chance, I would appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Brickey. Moving around the corner to the Pacific Wharf, I believe this is the southern end of the Pacific Wharf, is under construction. And I think that this area doesn't get enough respect. There we can see a non-Imagineer construction worker doing some straight painting. But this area that we're looking at, this is storytelling at its finest, because really this is a wall so that we don't look back into that land. We don't see everybody eating over there. But the way that this wall is decorated to feel like there's all these little buildings, that we were actually on a wharf, it's such great storytelling. Now going around the bend towards Cars Land, you can see that this is just a standard refurbishment. They're just getting the sign all ready, probably working on the neon, getting the paint job looking good after the year of wear and tear in the California sun. My curiosity is were these projects planned and they just said, we'll open with these going on? Or is this something that was just kind of happening and they opened around it? Very curious what came first here, the chicken or the egg. But hey, if you're a hardcore Disneylander, you know they're always doing something new to something out at the resort. Now, my understanding is if you see a construction worker that is wearing a maroon or brown colored helmet, then that means they are actually an official Disney employee, not a contractor from a construction company that has been hired to work on a project. I believe this guy is Imagineering Disney official. So he's probably doing some sort of highly crafted paint job versus just a standard recoding of a building. It'll be interesting to see what Ariel looks like, because this ride is announced to be open for the opening of the park on April 30th. Friends, there's everything new that I saw this week at Touch of Disney. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Leave a comment. Let me know, did you find anything new? When are you going out? What do you want me to cover for you? And subscribe to the channel and ring the bell, because every time I'm at the resort, I always do a live stream, which are so fun to go around the park with me and my amazing community, all of my friends over at Club 1313. Thank you so much for making today's video possible. Friends, until the next time I see you inside of Touch of Disney, I'll see you back here on the channel with more Disneyland news. Thank you so much for watching.